2 or 3 years back, I made a Book Nook street scene inspired by Blade Runner, and I peopled it with some of these characters who they were original designs, but they could easily have stepped off of the streets of Los Angeles 2019. Okay, bring in one more. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. And right now I'm still into Blade Runner. So I thought maybe I could do something else, another street scene, but with actual Blade Runner figures. So I went on Etsy, and I don't know whether I've made a mistake or not. I like this scale of figure. The ones I've found, I chose 32mm, and I think maybe I should have gone bigger. All right, I don't know. I'm thinking though the smaller scale means they would take up less room. If I did do a street scene, it's not going to be too big and bulky. So it was a bunch of them that I bought all together. So here we have a really good likeness of Leon. His pistol is not as small as it appears in the film. So we have Leon. We have the man he's after, Tyrell. Okay, who have we got next? We have Mr. Chew. Looking forward to doing him. These are all 3D printed, you can tell. Like, it's got the little spurs and everything, and they're all going to need a blooming good wash. Then we have Rachel. Her features are kind of soft, but you can totally see it's her. Then this is when I might regret the smaller scale. The Kaiser, one of J.F. Sebastian's friends. Pris. And we have Big Ted. Zito is really excellent on these. Very pleased with them. There's good old JF himself. Was he good though? On our Blake 7 podcast, yeah, we were seriously questioning how sweet and innocent old JF actually was. Down to 2, the last 2, and of course it has to be these. Deckard, he's got a bit of a pompadour hairstyle. A bit more hair than he had in the film. Little spur under his chin there, but that's good. That's nifty. I'm not going to try and do the check pattern on his shirt, I don't think. And yeah, best till last, Mr. Batty. So let's give them all a clean. Let's give them a white primer undercoat, because I'm sure that's going to make the detail really pop. And I'll decide exactly what I'm going to do. One of the things was, yeah, a street scene, but I'm also thinking maybe a police lineup, because of the way they're all posing. Apart from Leon, they all seem to be quite passively. Looks like they're all like waiting for a bus. But then I'm also thinking maybe a street scene with some like blue neon behind them, like they are indeed waiting for a bus. The figures all come with their own MDF base, and I'm not going to be using those, but I have blue tacked them to each of them just for spraying in the white primer and painting. So now with the primer on, we can see the detail. Mr. Tyrell, Mr. Chew, look at that face. That is excellent. Going to be a swine to paint though. These are small. That's a really good likeness of old JF. What about Deckard though? Oh, I've missed. I thought I got them all out. It's funny how you notice things when looking through camera phone that you don't see with the naked eye. Yeah, not very Harrison and a bit too tousled. Rachel. Yeah, made sure I didn't knock off her cigarette while scrubbing her. And Leon, who I'm really looking forward to doing. You talking to me? And we got Ted. And then we got Pris. My favourite. There's one under his chin as well. Shocking. And the Kaiser. I've only just realised there's no Zora. There is no Zora here. I don't know why. These are all 32mm. And I went back onto Etsy to the guy that I got these from to see if there was a bigger scale. And while you can get bigger scale 3D printed Blade Runner figures, not these ones. 32 is the biggest. And now here is the and ahhing part, because being 32mm, they're smaller than I would have liked, but they take up less shelf space. But then on the other hand, you can get 32mm vehicles like the taxi and stuff like that. So while considering the street scene, what to do, my first thought was have them all and include some vehicles and stuff. But no, what I'm going to do is something akin to what I was suggesting before about a police lineup. They are all going to be in a line, but it will look like they're waiting for a bus, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little enclosed box with a glass front, well, clear plastic front, with them inside. And they're going to be standing in front of a shop. And then that way, it's nice and small. And I can illuminate it and have a little, not a book nook, but a little light up little Blade Runner scene. So that's what I'm going to do. It's a shame there's no Zora. I'm going to look into this and see if I can find a 32mm Zora. But I'm thinking if it comes from somebody else, the style, the sculpting, the detail might be a bit different. But I'll look into that, and I might have a update for you when I next come back. Right, so all the skin tones are pretty much done. There's no way on earth I'm going to try picking out the eyes. This one that way kind of looks like Harrison Ford, but this way looks more like Liam Neeson, I think. I think it's the straight brow. So, yeah, now I'm starting to add colours. So I'm going for the dark shirt, dark blue shirt for Deckard. It's just there. Tyrell's going to be nice and easy. I've just put on a coat of Black Templar contrast paint for his suit. Leon, again, with Ridley Scott and his lighting choices, everything's dark and neon lit, so it's hard to see what he's wearing. I tell you what Blade Runner could do with is a costumes book, like the Star Wars ones, where you've got fabulous reference photos. Scouring through my magazines and online for images, it's hard to tell just what Leon is wearing. It seems to be greys with a black overcoat. So, yeah, I've started on him. Who else have we got? Oh, yeah, we got Ted. I've just started off doing his little nose area and his ear. That's as far as I've got with him. Where's his little mate? Oh, his little mate's still upstairs. Okay. Rachel, again, Black Templar. Just made a start on her. Roy, dead easy. He's nearly all Black Templar. I haven't done anything to the hair, and it looks almost ready already. Chew, again, it's hard to make out what he's wearing, what colours he's wearing. He seems to have like a grey balaclava, and then this is a grey browny tunic, so I've just put on a grey. Zora, she's got a yellow tiger skin, leopard skin style jacket. I don't know if I'm going to dare attempt that, but I blocked her in yellow. And then, yeah, J.F. Sebastian's clothing is eccentric as the guy himself. So he's a whole mishmash of colours. So again, I've just put on the same yellow as Prissy's for now. Yeah, said Zora. I said before, where's the Zora? But then I've also realised where's the gaff? Bit of a gaff not to have gaff. So I'll continue and I'll come back with more colours applied. So what I did was I pushed all the figures together, even though they're on bases. I kind of like overlapped the bases to give me a rough idea about how long it would be, the distance, if they were all standing alongside each other. And it gave me roughly 25 centimetres. So that gave me a 25 centimetre width of the sidewalk that they're going to be on. Yeah, did I say this before? I can't remember. I'm doing so many projects at the moment and I can't remember what I've said. But if I hadn't said it, I decided not to have a shop front that they're standing in front of, because that could be a distraction. So what I'm going to do instead is just have a wall of stuff. And what I love about the Blade Runner aesthetic and the look is that you can have a building and it's clad with stuff on the outside because there's not much room on the inside. So all the air conditioning, ducting and that is all running on the outside, and then there's cladding on top of that and layers on top of that and layer upon layer upon layer. So that's what I want to try and do. So basically what I did was I've had a rummage through my bits box, and I've got lots of other shapes that I'm contemplating as well, you know, here, there and everywhere. Yeah, to clad this back wall. But how high should the back wall be? Now I know how big the figures are, but how much higher should it be? Well, the height has been determined by this piece off of the old one of the hovercraft kits that Airfix did, because I like this column with these. This is part of the skirting, isn't it, off of the hovercraft? But I thought that's very in keeping with a Blade Runner building. So that's my highest thing. So basically what I measured was, I know it's 25 centimetres that way. I measured how deep I want the sidewalk to be, which is this far. And then I knew how high that has to be, because that's going to be the highest thing. So I measured them out onto this piece of white card. And then, you know, it's given me a dummy to experiment with. And then, yeah, I've just been going through the bits box and finding pieces. That looks quite Blade Runner-y. I figure this piece off of the old Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, if I stick that on and cut out behind it, I can have a light shining through there. This is left over from something, I'm not sure what. I think it might have been one of my Mad Max dioramas, but you can see that's all already been painted, and I'm thinking a light in there. And yeah, I think that's off the Leopold kit. There's various bits. This is a resin piece, which was part of a thing that I won many years ago, a scratch building thing. And I had all sorts of, like, you know, parts. So I'm thinking that's quite good as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a play around until I'm happy and comfortable with it all, and then commit this card to plastic card and cut it out and start adding bits. All right, so that's where I am with the base. Figure wise, some are more advanced than others. So Leon is on his way because he's all grey and black, really. That is a great likeness to Brian James. All right, he's looking like Roy Batty because I've just picked his hair out in white. Who else have we got? Roy Batty is pretty much done. All right. I don't know whether to paint the pigeon's beak or not. I did that on my Mike Hill one and I've always regretted it. Chew is coming along. I've picked out his goggles in white because it's like a pale yellow, his goggles. Don't know what to do about the tubes. Can't find a decent photo of the tubes, so I've painted them this grey and I'm going to wash them with something or other, okay, to make it look like there's some sort of, like, you know, they're flexible hose. Tyrell, I've got to look at his glasses, work out what on earth's going on there, but he's the man in black, so he's nearly done. Rachel is the woman in black, so yeah, not far off her. Who else we've got? Yeah, really the most advanced ones are the toys. They've got a lot going on. So here we go with the Kaiser. Big Ted I'm working on. All right. Who else we got? Oh, the man himself, Deckard. He's not far off. Pris. Really, I've just got to do her dress, her bag, her boots. And again, hair is almost there. But yeah, the most time-consuming one is going to be old JF, because he's got a lot of colours going on. Luckily, I found some good reference photos of his jacket, but there's all sorts of different colours and patterns going on there. So I'll come back with these a bit more further down the line, and with this converted over to plastic. So now just adding things. I've changed my mind about where certain things go. This little panel here, I haven't stuck in place. I've backed it because I'm going to have a green light shining through there. Right, that's the plan there. Over here, this is a Lego piece that I've stuck on there, and I'm going to have a super bright white LED coming in through there. And over here, just above here, I've got a strip of 6 blue LEDs. And what I'm going to do deliberately is I'm going to have this part, which you may recognise is off the Tamiya 88mm gun kit. I'm going to have that and this bit, which is a bit left over from my Robbie the Robot kit. I'm going to have these in either a silver colour or a light colour, so everything's tinted blue, because the LEDs, the roof is only coming out to about here. So if I have the LEDs here, that should tint everything bluish. And I'm also going to make sure I put Pris and Roy Batty here, because then that will tint their white hair blue as well. So yeah, there's just kit pieces, round rod. That bit was going to be over there is now down here. I see this is some sort of like basement grating. Might recognise that. That's the grills off the R2-D2 kit. And yeah, there's the hovercraft piece. So I'm just going to add a few more things, cables and stuff. I think I'll leave this area down here blank, because number one, you've got the people in front of it, but number two, I want to get across the idea that these have been added to an old building, you know, modern pieces added to an old building. Okay, I think that will do. I'm keeping this lower area bare because that's where the figures are going to be standing up to about here, so there's no point in putting lots of detail there. But yeah, a few more kit parts went on. Did a little bit of cabling there. There's a cable running there which is just solder. Okay, that's blue tacked in place, ready for priming. Okay, and then this is the roof affair. You can see this is where the blue LED is going to go, and that's going to go there like that. The reason I've put this on at the front and this thing is this is going to hide where the cable, the connecting bit and the cable for the blue LEDs is going to be hidden in here. The cable's going to go down through there and through that hole. All right. The joining point for this is just along there, but also just to support it, I've put a piece just in there. All right. So let's prime this up and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so both sections got a coat of grey primer. So that's the top roof affair done. And for the back wall, the original building, I've used this from Army Painter primer, Brain Matter Beige. All right, because I figure that gives me this like stone colour. And I think what I'm going to do first, originally I was going to just paint each different section a different colour and then weather, but I think I'm going to do the wall first, because as I say, in Blade Runner you have a building and then lots of stuff added on top of it. So yeah, first thing is to weather the back wall, and then I'll continue forward. I need to pop this bit off. Let's do it live. Peel that off. Paint that separately. Paint it black at the back, and then I've got to light it. And to light it, let's bring this in. What I've got here are 3 green LEDs, which I've soldered onto a clip. That's a 9-volter. So that will be, I'm hoping 3 will be enough. 3 will be shining through that. What I'm going to do to diffuse that light, I'm going to put tracing paper on the back as a diffuser. Okay, so yeah, next step then is to just do the back wall before moving on. I thought before I get started on that, let's bring our cast in, because they're all pretty much done now. So I think Roy Batty is my favourite. One of the simplest, but one of my favourites. Then his Hunter, still looking like Liam Neeson. I think it's the nose and the eyebrows. Big Ted. The detail on these figures is brilliant. I mean, even his white flower buckles on his shoes with the red centres have been represented. So there's Big Ted. Rather boring paint job. There's Rachel. And then Chew was a lot of fun. Well, this is he. Leon. That's not a bad likeness to Brian James, is it? That's really good. Another quick, rather dull paint job. Tyrell. Let's bring in his worker. I could have gone to town more with JF Sebastian's coat, but there's limited photos of it. So this is a semblance of how peculiar his jacket is. We've got Pris, and finally the Kaiser. I've been umming and ahhing about putting the red on the end of his nose. I don't know whether it's going to look a bit daft if I do. But anyway, I'll think about that as attention now is fully turned to this. Okay, so I've dirtied down the back wall, which has come out fine. I'm going to put lots of runs of stains and stuff as well once I've done all the other colours. And speaking of which, here are all the other colours. So as I said before, I wanted this shiny to reflect the blue lights that are going to be directly above that. So that's Lead Belcher and then Mithril Silver, ditto here. This is a very light grey. I wanted them to stand out a bit, but I didn't want them the same as the wall. So I'm just going to use a different colour when I dirty these down to what I did with the wall. Picked out a bit of metallic there. I see that as some sort of grating. Yeah, I've got a nice grey blue for here. Same metallic there. All right, so I'm going to start staining all those. The other bit of progress is the 3 LEDs, which will be shining through there, green LEDs. I've made this little box affair so it'll glue at the back. Okay, what I've got to do now is get some tracing paper and just work out how many pieces of tracing paper diffuse those green lights. Okay, and when I've worked that out, I'll be gluing them over the hole before I glue that bit round and in. So yeah, I'll come back with some more colours done, and maybe this will be attached. There's no point in me attaching it now because I'm going to be handling this, painting this. So once I've painted all that, I'll be attaching that, And I think at that point, that's when I'll come back. So there's the little box for the green LEDs, and it took 10 sheets, 10 slices of tracing paper to actually diffuse that to my liking. All right, so yeah, they're almost done, almost ready to go in, sorry. And then regarding the actual street, I've been washing and weathering and picking out details. I think I'm going to put some decals in. I think that's what it's calling for, and then put more streaks like I've started here. Just make it look really run down and horrible. And what I've done here for the rainy street, that is Tamiya Smoke, which is this translucent shiny grey. And what I did was I painted that on, but then I loaded my paintbrush up with water and just sploshed it around, which thinned it out, moved it out and pulled it nicely. So yeah, that's making for a nice rain-soaked street there. All right, decals applied, a bit more weathering put in. This one, I think, is off a Mac kit. This is one of a series that my friend Mark sent with the Ultra Probe Command module kit. That one, I can't remember. That one is a Ron Cobb Ilio, and they down there are again from Mark, and the red writing are off of a I think a 135th plain kit, and also down there by the grating. I think that's what I'm gonna leave it with the weathering. It looks a bit crude in that, but when you consider that the people are going to be standing pretty much to that red cable, you're not going to see an awful lot there. And up in this area, I'm thinking, because I've tested it, the green is really going to blare out of that grating, so it's going to obscure anything that might be up there. So I think we're ready now to attach the light box on the back, stick the roof on, stick the white LED that's going to go in that Lego piece, put the figures in, and we'll be done. And there we have it. Before I glued the figures in, I roughly positioned them. As I say, I wanted to have Roy and Pris on the left under the blue lights. I was hoping that the blue light would actually illuminate their white hair, which has happened. It's also illuminated the dove, which I wasn't expecting. So if they're there, you've got to have Leon there as well. And if they're together, then you kind of got to have JF near to Pris. I wanted to have Deckard and Rachel in the middle. And so on the other side, then you get Tyrell, a couple of JF's little friends, and at the end, Chew. All right. So I'm very pleased how this has come out. I mean, it's cost me the cost of getting the figures and the LEDs. That's it. Everything else was out of my bits box. So a nice, fun little project this. Not quite a book nook, but I can slot it in somewhere, I'm sure.